Welcome to Law Library. First, we need to differentiate the meanings of the word, or at least to have a good understanding on what these words actually mean. So you have the mythology, folklore, law, fairy tales, legends, epic. What are these words? What are their real meanings to it? And most of the time, these words, they overlap between each other. So we need to, in order for us to understand the essence of this repository, we must understand these basic words. So to the best of my knowledge, I will try to explain to you. The first is myth or mythology. Now, mythology is used to describe profound things, the origins of man's, or it can be also about a feeling, or the essence of love, or the meaning of heroism. These sort of profound meanings, or rather beginnings of the time, or how should one understand the meanings of life, and all these sort of huge, profound questions are dramatized in these mythologies. So to give the boost, to give to captivate the listeners, so what people do is they make stories out of it. They create monsters, they create heroes, they create fantastical locations. People can fly, and all this dramatization creates that impression in one's mind, which is why all those myths that we heard when we were very small has been, even now it's still fresh, right? Because the fact that it's dramatized that in that way, basically to promote or certain understandings of base meanings such as love, bring a hero, or trying to show what compassion means in life. All these profound questions are shown in a very dramatized fashion. Okay, that's what a mythology or myth means. It is normally, or for most cases, it is not based on true facts. It is purely fictional. It's purely fictional, and it's purely oral tradition. Okay, like most of the subjected topics like folklores and laws and all this are pretty much oral. So mythology is also begins with oral tradition. Conveying the story to the commoners in a form of dramatization. Okay, so that's what mythology means. Second is the word law. All right, law is a very archaic word. It's a very old English word. Law simply means all the. It's a body of knowledge. It's a body of knowledge where it contains a huge repository of information. That's what law means, right? And the fact is, this body of knowledge, like the internet is a body of knowledge, or the National Library is a body of knowledge where you can get things or resources for you to increase your knowledge. Just like that, the word law means a body of knowledge. But the why law has not become prominent in the scientific community, because law, or that body of knowledge, is being conveyed through orally. People explain that body of knowledge in their own words. Okay, and while going through these using their own words based on their local community or their local experiences that they have through their environment, creates different stories. So these stories, in a very long time, will slowly move into superstitions and even some kind of a belief system. So the word law simply means a body of knowledge. Okay. Now folklore, as you have guessed it, is it's the same thing as law. Okay, there's not much of a difference actually. It's just the word folklore is coined on a much recent time comparatively. It was famously coined by this British gentleman called William Thoms back in 1846. And that folklore has superseded the actual word law. So it's basically the same. Okay. Now let's move on. Let's talk about legends. Legends is more straightforward. Legends is basically extolling somebody from a local community to talk about their greatness, their heroism, to make sure that people within the community remembers this person, okay, remembers this person for a long time. So just like mythology, to explain the word love, it is, it can make a person boring or less interested if you don't say it like a story. If you just say it just like for the sake of saying it, or rather in a very traditional method, then it's going to be very boring. So just like that, mythology is added with fanciful stories and magic, and all these things will start to create the essence of the word love. Just like that, the legend is used with the same concept, with the same technique, to impose the heroism of this person by dramatizing it. Okay, so the dramatization together with that person, that real person's identity, is what we call legend. For example, we have the legends of King Arthur. Okay, King Arthur is a very famous story, and in order to extol or to give prominence to that story, it was dramatized. Okay, you have the famous wizard Merlin, giving all sort of magic, and he's the wise old magician. All these stories put into King Arthur to increase the capacity of storing that or remembering King Arthur for a very long time. Okay, so the difference here between the myth or mythology and legend is mythology is almost, I can say, all of mythology is false. I mean, it doesn't have any historical or any scientific or any factual evidence to substantiate the claims that is used. Okay, like some examples would be like people flying or fire breathing dragon and all that. You can't substantiate with that. So it is absolutely fake stories. But in order to bring forth something good, right? That's what mythology means. Legend, on the other hand, there is some truth to it. King Arthur was a real person, and there were some real incidents. But the additional dramatization of those were faked, okay, to improve the vividness of the story. Okay, so that's the two main difference between legend and myth. Legend has some factual events. Mythology doesn't have anything. Now, if you look at the word fairy tale, fairy tales are basically meant for the children. Okay, it's meant to give children the path of righteousness, virtue, good conduct, the do's and don'ts, to explain to a child. So it is not easy to explain to a child on what are the good things they should be doing in life and all that. So the story that fairy tales uses conveys a subconscious thought in the child on what we want, or what the essence that must be taught to a child. And those fairy tales have a very significant personality. Those fairy tales are normally based on animals. Okay, fairy tales are also sometimes called as fables. So these are some of the common words that the library or our library would store. So now that you understand the meanings, and I would strongly suggest that you do more research on these particular words, because I've covered, it's just merely the tip of the actual meanings of these words. So remember, if you can invest some time in understanding the deeper meanings, once again, the words are mythology, folklore, lore, fables, fairy tales, and legend. Okay, these are the famous ones out there. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe, and it's going to be a huge repository. We have just started it, and if you have anything that you want to share, some of your local stories that wasn't actually published anywhere else. And if you want to talk about it, or if you want to say a few things, then you can always drop us an email. All the information will be in the description box below. Okay, so thank you so much, and stay tuned.